Hey guys, welcome to our bi-weekly Twitter space. And that's bi-weekly as in twice a week, not every other week. Does that confuse anybody else? I think it confuses me. We'll go ahead and get started. We'll wait for some more people to join, maybe get to the meat and potatoes. But I'm joined here by my co-hosts. That's right. The most exclusive, the most elite, Dutch of the DeFi, Cassie Wolf. And of course, the most talked about algo fam member, the leader of the algo army, AJ. And yes, people wonder if his name's correct. He does write crypto. Welcome.
Dude, what's up, man? How's your trip going? I miss you at the office.
Oh, man, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Look, I am out here in LA right now. I'm actually in Glendale, California. Just shot an episode of a TV show. Got to hang out with some really cool people. Going to a dinner later tonight. I got to hang out with one of my poker heroes, Tom Dwan. So that was really exciting.
I'm very jealous.
I knew you would.
Tom Dwan is a beast.
That's why I name dropped it, just for you.
Nice. I appreciate that. I do.
So Ben, what kind of TV show is this?
It's actually it's like the next Chippendales Dancer. So I was on stage to try to win everybody over to let them know that I could be the next Chippendales Dancer. It is a show called The Next Crypto Gym, and it is basically a show where judges go through. Of course, the judges are public. It's George from Cryptos R Us, Leah Halpern, and a good friend of mine, Brian. What's Brian's last name? Brian Evans, of course. For 1 second, I lost it. But Brian Evans is good to come in and kind of help make the final decision on who the winner is right now. Because it used to be when you did, right, this, I'm a truth thespian, which I am. I don't have a lot of Hollywood involvement, but of course, you guys know I was on Clerks 3. I shot a pilot, so now here 4 times. But it used to be where you knew where it was going. You knew the network that was producing the show, or you were just kind of a startup that was trying to, make a pilot to sell to somebody else. But now the way shows are created, they're made to sell to OTT platforms like Netflix or Roku or Hulu. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe they have a better idea, the producers, of where it's going to end up. But I can tell you it's a very highly produced Hollywood production, and really excited to be part of it.
I'm really excited to learn more about this. Specifically, it'd be nice to see some crypto-related TV shows.
Yeah, and there's another one I'm filming over the summer. I'm going to be doing with Altcoin Daily and Snoop Dogg's son, Calvin Brodus. And it's going to be called Killer Whales, and it's going to be similar to Shark Tank, except for crypto. So this kind of had a Shark Tank feel to it. And you guys do know, of course, I play Kevin O'Leary.
Stop. Why does that not surprise me at all?
Well, it might be surprising because I do have hair. Sorry, Kevin.
Bang.
Burn him.
Got him. So Ben, what are you thinking about the BRICS developing their new currency? For those, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're going to get together and just be like, you know what? Like, we're done with the dollar. The U.S. dollar has been the world reserve for 79 years. The average is 100 years. It looks like we're losing the grasp on, and we've kind of done it to ourselves. Like, what are your thoughts on them getting together and, kind of averting from the norm?
I think it's a great question. I think it's a very serious issue. And I think, like I said, thanks. It's a lot. I said this on Tuesday. It's a lot. What we're about to see is a game of tug of war. A game of who, to the majority of countries in the world, the majority of G20 nations, who would they rather see in control of the world reserve currency? Would they rather see Russia and China, or would they rather see the United States? And I understand that around the world, a lot of people look at the United States the same way that they look at Russia and China. I, of course, do not. I'm a little biased. I am, an American through and through. But the fact is, I think if you were to look at most countries in the world, I think they would rather go with us than China and Russia. And I think we're going to see a play to see the tug of war is going to be over Europe. Whichever way Europe goes, that's the way the rest of the world will follow, in my opinion. Canada is going to go with us. Mexico is going with us. And actually, we're Mexico's a country to watch because a lot of the manufacturing that's leaving China is going to Mexico. So Mexico is going to be a large player in the world economy, a much larger player in the world economy than people think or have given it credit for. So I think really it's kind of like, you know what it's like? It's like a divorce. Look, I come from a divorced family. A lot of you guys know I really lashed out at people that wear glasses. My parents ended up getting divorced over a pair of glasses because I couldn't be responsible to watch them. And the question is, what happens to the kids? You got a mom, you got a dad, you may have some kids, you may have some dogs. If you're not a good person, you may have some cats. I'm just kidding. But the point is that where do the kids go in the divorce? Right now, we are divorcing from the BRICS nation. But who are the kids going to go with? If the kids end up staying with us, then the dollar is still going to be strong. The digital dollar will end up being the world reserve currency after the US dollar in physical form. If they decide that we are worse than China and Russia and they go over there, then America's pretty much sunk, not as a nation, but as an economic power.
Yeah, that's a really, really perfect way to put it. That the kids will definitely go with whatever makes more sense. But kind of what scares me about the situation is that, as patriotic as I am, as pro-America as I am, I love the country I live in. I'm not disrespecting, but we haven't really done ourselves any favors whatsoever when it comes to our own dollar in terms of the rate of inflation. Basically, I've said this again before, and I'll say it again: if you held your money in a bank account for the past 20 years, that was the biggest mistake you could have made. So it's not even like the kids will go with who's better. I kind of feel like we have to start doing that due diligence to repair the damage we've done to our own dollar if people are going to side with us. We have to prove to them that this is stable, and I feel like it's hard to do that when we're 31 trillion in debt. So how do we tell the kids, hey, everything's going to be okay?
Well, you just tell them if they don't come with you, you're going to spank them. I think that's what you tell them.
That totally works, man. That
totally works. I grew up getting spanked, and look how I turned out. Okay, I'm just kidding. I did grow up getting spanked. But the truth is I don't think I think you're on the right track, AJ. I just don't think you're looking at necessarily the right barometer. The debt is not, and look, I don't want to defend Janet Yellen because we call her Janet Felon Yellen for good reason. But when she was really pressed about the dollar the other day, and she was really pressed about the debt, and I don't think she answered the question right because, I'm sorry, she's just kind of dumb. And she's not tactful, and she's like a 75-year-old lady. She sounds like a 112-year-old lady that hasn't, had any loving for a long time. But the fact is that debt is not important as a number. What is important is the debt ratio to your GDP. And our GDP has really slowed down over the last, ever since Trump left office, and pandemic hit. We've lost GDP, and that GDP growth has not been good. It spiked when Trump was in, and it's gone down ever since. And I'm not trying to make a political point here. All I'm trying to say is our economy has been on the decline, and then we printed money on top of it out of control during the pandemic, and we're getting back to adding to the balance sheet, and we're getting back to doing things, printing money. The quantitative easing is going to be back by the end of the year. It's already back. They already printed $450 billion, I believe, which was 1/6 out of what was printed during the pandemic. These are the things that we really need to watch and be more careful of. And I think an extension of that is also you can kind of look at what is going on with what is going on in the world of crypto. And I think that what we're seeing from the government right now is a lot of smoke and mirrors. I still believe we're going to end up with favorable crypto regulation, and that the United States is going to catch up to these other, to borrow a title of my book, they're going to catch up to crypto the same way they caught up to the space race. If you look at how far ahead Russia was of us, of the United States, in the space race, it looked like we weren't even a player at the beginning, and we were the first people to get to the moon. And I think in the world of crypto, to borrow one of our, phrases as well, I think the United States will still end up being the first to get to the moon in the world of crypto. I think what they're trying to do right now is paint a very, bleak picture and make retail investors not want to put in money in crypto. Therefore, the banking infrastructure can make the Ponzi scheme of the banks can make all the money in crypto. So I think that right now it looks scary across the world, but I can tell you this. If the United States loses the world reserve currency, then we also will lose the crypto race because we won't have the kind of money or economy to be serious players and to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely fair. Just today I had a 90-minute conversation with someone about, the kind of Ponzi scheme that the institutional investors and does with crypto, how they're kind of tying those two worlds together, and it's like almost just as bad as what we've seen in the past, like with subprime mortgages and stuff. And that's something we're definitely going to research with the content team. And I'm really excited to team up with you and to put that video together for everyone, because I'm sitting on some stuff that's a really, really deep dive. And it's going to take some time to put together, but I am excited to put that together for.
Yeah. Well, I think be careful, though, if you're sitting on stuff. A lot of people say sitting on your wallet in your back pocket is the best way to hurt your back.
Oh, my God. All right.
I'll be here all night, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. So it's really hard to talk about everything we're talking about without touching on this story that's kind of been really hot all week long, excuse me. And I don't want to say her name, but I'm going to say her name, Elizabeth Warren.
Okay.
She's building an anti-crypto army. And she's basically running on this whole push anti-crypto army. What I want to know, Ben, is that do you really think any Americans see her running on that and think to themselves, you know what? I want to vote for her. Like, what percentage of us of Americans are going to vote for Warren because she's running an anti-crypto agenda? Like, any?
Yeah. Well, I think first we have to back up a little bit, because you said something extremely controversial a few seconds ago. You actually used the word hot and Elizabeth Warren in the same sentence, and I need you to apologize.
You got me, and I'm very sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Now, Elizabeth Warren, there's a reason we call her the banking broad. Did you happen to see, by the way, AJ, John Deaton's thread about Elizabeth Warren?
I saw a couple John Deaton threads in my research. I don't know if I saw the one on Warren, though.
Okay, so this is what John Deaton said. John Deaton said that his team, on behalf of his amicus curiae brief in defense of the XRP holders, he actually reached out and told her through her team that they had 300 of her constituents that were in his, in the 70,000 people of his amicus curiae brief. And so her team literally said this: no, John, we cannot help you because we don't want it to seem like Elizabeth Warren is aligned with two billionaires. And who are the two billionaires? That would be Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse behind Ripple. Well, let's wait a second here, Banking Broad. Let's think about this for just a moment. It's weird that you say you don't want to align with billionaires, and yet who are all listed in the top 20 of her donors for her campaigns? That would be Amazon, that would be Apple, that would be Google, that would be Disney, that would be Microsoft, all owned by billionaires. And here we get the double speak, the double agenda from Elizabeth Warren, pretending to show the image that she's against things that she's actually for. Now, you may not know this. I'm sure the audience didn't know this because I didn't know this, and there's no way you guys know more than me, obviously. Okay. But I did not know that. Do you know how Elizabeth Warren became a prominent figure?
I don't.
It's because she was a lawyer and a legal consultant for billionaires. That's literally what she did. She was actually a Republican her entire life until she ran in Massachusetts, a state where you cannot win really as a Republican. So it's really funny to me. The whole thing she did was defend billionaires in litigation all the time. And yet this is her thing. She's against billionaires. What I've learned in the world of politics, you guys know that, we've been heavily involved in politics over the last year. And one thing that we've learned is that the people that make the biggest noise, it's not because they believe what they're saying or because they're authentic or because these are valid points. they make all the politicians that you know pretty much, they make their money in their campaigns by being seen, being noticed, being heard, being louder than the others. And if you think about all the politicians that we know, and you think about all the ones that exist that we don't know, which is like 90% of them the general public doesn't know, there's about 20 politicians, your AOCs, your Elizabeth Warrens, your Ted Cruz's, your Marjorie Taylor Greenes, and what do all these people have in common? They're just very, very loud. So Elizabeth Warren's entire game is raising money through being seen and being loud. It's not in being compassionate about true conviction. So she probably doesn't give a rip about crypto. But when you ask yourself the question, what kind of person is Elizabeth Warren? What kind of person aligns behind Elizabeth Warren? And what kind of person would actually donate to her campaign? If she came out as pro-crypto at this point, do you think anyone is going to donate to her campaign? No, absolutely not. She's dug in her heels too much to be able to reverse that decision. So therefore, the way for her to raise the most campaign dollars is to appeal to the most liberal, the most anti-billionaire, which still doesn't make sense because the whole idea of liberalism is fairness and equality. Some people would argue, they want, fairness and equality of outcome, not necessarily failure and equality of opportunity, but that's a whole different story for a whole different, show. But the whole idea is there's nothing that solves socioeconomic disparity better than crypto. But yet she's dug in her heels so far to the other side, she can't get out of that take anymore. So the only way for her to monetize the situation is to appeal to the most anti-crypto people that exist out there. And let's think for just 1 second. Let's go back to her nickname, the banking broad. Who does she appeal? Who does anti-cryptoism appeal to more than anyone? And that, of course, is anyone in the traditional financial markets, like her boyfriend, Gary Gensler.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Like, Elizabeth Warren's net worth is, I just had it, $67 million. This isn't someone that's plugged in to what it's like just being a normal person in America. Like, just an average, everyday person that, like, where, $10,000 is still a lot of money to them. And crypto is such a wonderful opportunity for normal people to kind of skip a couple rings on the socio-economical ladder. That it's just such a shame to me that, like, she's trying to push this legislation or whatever that's going to take that opportunity away from people just to keep them stuck in the monotony of, like, their normal 9 to 5 or whatever. It's like crypto to me, like, is freedom. Like, crypto to me is like having an opportunity to get ahead when, like, otherwise you wouldn't have. And you're completely right. The only people that will align with her, that she's purposely going after crypto to align with, is everyone who is basically in control or at least funding the traditional legacy system. And it makes me sick. It really does. Like, I don't even know what to say to her other than I really hope that she doesn't keep winning these elections.
Well, unfortunately, she's in a place where she's going to keep winning. Everyone knows that Boston is the capital of Karens, and nobody loves Karens more than Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
My mom's name is Karen. I'll have to ask her if she likes Elizabeth Warren or not.
Well, your mom is a nice Karen, and we love her, but she still will report you to the manager. That's why I'm always nice to her.
That's very true. That's very true. That's great. So, jumping around here, and the couple stories that I have in front of me here, kind of segueing from Elizabeth Warren, but still sticking with the government. So the government is set to sell 41,500 Bitcoin, $1.18 billion, over all the stuff that they've kind of seized over all the years. They already sold a chunk of that on March 14th. It was 41,000 Bitcoin for a total of $215 million. That's a whole lot of money. So what do you feel about the government, kind of selling this Bitcoin off? What is the reason for selling it? Like, if you were them, wouldn't you want to wait for Bitcoin to go up? I mean, they're kind of selling in the grand scheme of things, they're kind of selling the bottom, in my opinion. So, like, what are your thoughts on this, and why do you think they're in such a hurry to get rid of it?
It's a great question. I think that if you go back and if you looked at the price action on March 14th,
I can do that right now.
well, I got it pulled up. It's a little bit of a dip after a pump. The bottom, here's what's fascinating, is the bottom of March, where we were getting the most FUD, where we had Silvergate go down. Do you know what date that was? It was March 10th. March 10th.
And then we pumped.
And then we pumped right after that. And
Yep.
It's like, I don't know, they had really bad timing because they obviously it pumped a lot more. But now one thing that's really important to understand about them selling that Bitcoin is none of that Bitcoin has been seized recently. They have seized a lot of Bitcoin recently, but to my understanding, unless you have different information, AJ, the Bitcoin that was sold was from Silk Road seizures. It was not the seizure of the Silk Road hacker, Jimmy Zhang or Zhang. I can't remember exactly which one it was. Jimmy Zhang, I believe it was. Back in November, he was actually arrested or maybe it was a little bit before November, but the story came out in November that he had been arrested for having 50,000 illegal Bitcoin that he got through a hack that he discovered. It was really an open door, but whatever the case, where he got $50,000 of Bitcoin, or not $50,000, 50,000 Bitcoin from Silk Road itself, from the entity. So what they just sold off was still part of that. And here's what I would tell you what's fascinating. You look at our government and they just printed $450 billion, right? An absolute insane amount. And then right after that, they go and they sell a bunch of Bitcoin. I don't know. Maybe they, are trying to find other ways to bring more money into the economy instead of just printing it. I know if you look at those numbers, it seems like a drop in the bucket. But like you said, $215 or $220 million, it's still a lot of money. So to me, the narrative that we've been saying is that the United States government this year alone has basically taken in about $8 to $10 billion between Jimmy Zhang and also between the Bitfinex hackers that were doing the money laundering that had all the Bitcoin. They took all that as well. So they're selling off some of their older stash that they've got huge ROI on. And now they've got newer Bitcoin coming in as well that they basically received at a higher price point. So I know, Kathy, did you want to take a minute and mention our
Action on the stage and Samurai on the stage? If you guys have any comments, we'd love to hear your opinions and feedback on kind of what's going on.
Of course, I got to turn the volume down. I'm in the Worthless headquarters hot tub right now in Puerto Rico. We're at a summit, having a secret crypto summit on everything that's going on. But I'm actually, BitBoy, I'm here with Narfsog the Illest. We're having a great time. We're talking about all kinds of stuff, technology and whatnot. One of the things we thought about that we discussed was this actual selling of this Bitcoin, right? And how it's going to impact markets and whatnot. And the government's just going to OTC it to one person. The market's never going to see the impact of this, and nobody's ever going to talk about how much money they actually made off of it. And I think that that's really the story here, is that there will be no story.
I think that's the way they want it for sure.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, Ben. Is that who did they sell it to? That was my question. I'm glad he said that because I don't know.
Well, Cassie, you had some information on that possibly, right? Or maybe a potential candidate.
Yeah, so it looks like Justin Sun offered to buy it directly for a 10% discount.
They can't sell it to Justin Sun. They're going to sell it to Tim Draper.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard for them to sell all their Bitcoin to someone they're going after for having a unregistered securities sale that they're going after for. So
Right.
Well, hang on. Who asked that question, BitBoy? I want to know which part of the government has that Bitcoin. I highly doubt the SEC was the one that confiscated it.
Oh, they weren't, I'm sure. It's the DOJ.
There you go, bud. You know good and dang well that all those different departments of government don't exactly work together. So the SEC
that's true.
could be going after somebody, and the DOJ could be working right with them.
Yeah. Well, I think if we were really to wrap this up, I think Justin Sun's a very entity. Do we have information on who that was?
Narfsog says it's probably Tim Draper.
You think it is Tim Draper? Okay. Tim Draper's someone
here's Narfsog.
Would have Tim Draper as well.
Hang on 1 second. Here.
Yeah.
Bro, who else is he gonna? I mean, he bought the last conference.
Yeah.
You have to.
Are y'all listening to Boots and Cats over there?
Oh, what?
Are y'all listening to Boots and Cats? Boots and Cats.
No, we listen to house music around here,
Oh.
Benjamin.
I say, woo! I like boots and cats. That's great. Well, it's interesting given that Tim Draper because the SEC had an action against Tim Draper as well against his project. I can't remember the name of the project yet anymore. It's one that we actually liked and thought was going to do really well, and they made him stop that project in its tracks, similar to what they did with Telegram and the Ton Coin before they did it a different way.
Yeah, but he was also Tron's first sugar daddy too, right?
Oh, was he? I didn't know that.
Hero City, that was Tron's first office in America.
Oh, wow.
After baby son Tron left Ripple and made Tron.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyways, buddy, I'm going to get back to work. I'll give you back to Sambone. Hope you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for dropping in.
Well,
Yeah, Darksog's always the best. He's got the best info.
yeah, but less exciting than Samurai. I'm just hanging out with my dog, but I'm actually bullish about this thing happening with BTC because, I mean, you saw what happened last time that they sold. We pumped. And I think people are going to be even more excited to know that the government is holding less Bitcoin than they are today.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it goes both ways. I think the government owning crypto or owning Bitcoin in this case, they own a lot of crypto overall, but owning Bitcoin in this case, I think it's a little bit of a validation for the space. Like, hey, they have $8 to $10 billion worth of Bitcoin, and they just sold 215 million or 250 million, whatever it was. So the fact they're still holding on to the vast majority of it, and the fact they even held on to it from Silk Road for so long, I think it provides validation. And then also, you're right. There is a bit of a vacuum left when it comes to the overall ownership of Bitcoin when they are letting go of so much. But don't be confused; they have way more than they just sold.
For sure. Another thing I wanted to ask you, Ben, while we're here, you're talking about Bitcoin. I was really surprised to hear this week, friend of the channel, Gareth Soloway, came out and basically, because of the banking contagion, and which would cause the stock market to fall, which would consequently cause Bitcoin to fall, he is forecasting a $13,000 Bitcoin. And I did some of my own kind of mental math on this situation when I first heard this. And, kind of if you take the low from June and the low from November and kind of draw that downward angle, and then you intersect that with, the months of this year, that lines up in May. 13K would line up in May. So are we going to see the third year in a row of sell in May, walk away?
I think, this reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite football coaches of all time that I only got to know of after he was dead. Vince Lombardi. He said, if ifs and buts were candy nuts, we would all have a Merry Christmas. And I think that applies right here. Look, I love Gareth. Gareth is a good friend. He has been dead on some things. He has been dead wrong on a lot of other things. His statement that he made was, if Bitcoin got above 22,500, that he thought that would disqualify a future bear market. However, or the continuation, he has good reason to think this. I'm not saying his logic is flawed. But I've been in crypto a lot longer than he has. No offense. I'm not trying to diminish him here. But I'm saying I've seen all these cycles so many times. I just keep betting on the cycle, and it just keeps working. We are past the point in the cycle where we should see a new low. And I mean, it is intellectually dishonest, in my opinion, to look across crypto right now and see the price movement for Bitcoin and to say, you know what? I think we're still getting a lower low. It makes no sense. There was nothing after April last year that was bullish for the entire year. We are now looking at bullish narrative after bullish narrative after bullish on-chain indicators. Everything is saying bullish. I'm not saying Bitcoin will be at all-time highs by the end of the year. I actually believe it's not hitting all-time highs until the middle of December of 2024. That's what we're forecasting. However, it's definitely a bullish feel right now. And I think what we saw is when Bitcoin went down and tested $15,000 and it came right back up in spite of all the FTX contagion, I think that shows that there is a line that Bitcoin will not go under. And I think it's the $15,000 level. I don't think we'll be back at $15,000 either. I think we definitely could potentially test 20,000 because there's a CME gap at 20,300. Even when we were bullish, I said we were going to retest the $19,000 level because of the CME gap. And you know what? It happened. Now we're looking at a new gap that was created at 20,300. History would tell you that we will go down there and test that. But I certainly do not see us going down lower than, I don't think we're going to go lower than $20,000 probably ever again. I don't want to say ever, ever, ever because, there's a long time in the world. 100 years from now, who knows? And certainly something disastrous can happen. SHA-256 could get broken with quantum computing before the Bitcoin network upgrades. We all believe it'll upgrade before that happens. You could certainly have a double spend attack. It's very, very, very far-fetched that it would happen, but it is a slight possibility. There is a percentage of a chance. It would be almost impossible. There's no incentive for it to be done. But if something disastrous like that were to occur, we could see the implosion of Bitcoin. But it was 3,200 was the bottom, 3,900 was the test of the double bottom. So it wasn't exactly a double bottom, but it did go kind of in the same range of the bottom of the market. So who knows? Maybe we have another black swan. Then it goes and it retests that range again, lower than 20K, but I think it would bounce right back up. So I think anybody who's looking for a new low in this market is grasping for straws because they did not dollar cost average in at the right speed, or either they've been telling people to stay away, and now they're feeling bad because they missed a lot of entries, and they're probing and praying for new entries for a new low.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Before I pass it to Corey and Miss Teen Crypto, I just kind of want to say with your Bitcoin analysis there that, I definitely agree. I don't see us putting in a new low. Basically where I sit with this is that we have pumped from the bottom of the wick about 47% in the past 25 days. Yeah. That's for Bitcoin. That is absolutely massive. What I'm looking at here is right now we are in June 21 and May 22. The floor was this 29 30K range. Right now it's the ceiling, and we need to get above that level and bullishly retest it for me to kind of feel safe about a really bullish continuation. I do.
Bro, didn't they say the same thing at 25.4?
Wait, what?
Didn't they say the same thing at 25.4? 25.4, we kept getting rejected.
Bigger SR level. The 30K SR level is bigger than 25.4, and I agree with the CME level because the most volume in the visible range volume profile is sitting at around 19,000.
Yep.
And also, we are a little bit oversold in the RSI, but the really thing that I'm looking at for Bitcoin is that the money flow has been red on Market Cipher B since December of 21, and it's finally about to turn green on the 5-day chart. So that is really what I'm looking at, and we're kind of getting above the 200 EMA. There's a lot of really good, despite all of the negative, despite Operation Choke Point 2.0, despite everything else, Bitcoin just doesn't seem to care, and that's because the people know what the truth is, and I think that retail and eventually it's going to be undeniable to all the institutional investors. I mean, it already is, in my opinion. Yeah. But this is just literally, in my opinion, this is retail doing this. So, Corey Costa, I know you had your hand up there for a while. I want to pass it to you. I also want to thank you for the interview we did last weekend. I had a really good time chatting with you for that hour. What's going on, and what are you doing this Friday night?
What's going on, guys? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So first and foremost, I want to say to Ben and AJ, thank you so much for hosting this. Thank you, Cassie, for hosting this. For those who are in the chat, Ben has been an amazing man and an amazing friend. He has helped me so much as an influencer or a rising influencer and a rising YouTuber. His benevolence is second to none in this space. If you guys haven't followed him yet or watched his YouTube channel, please do. And AJ, I really, really enjoyed the interview that we had as well, and I'd love to have you on sometime in the near future. Again, it was an amazing conversation. And I also wanted to bring up to you guys something about the hegemony of the U.S. dollar. We see BRICS. However, when we look at BRICS, a lot of these countries in BRICS that we've highlighted, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, now we're seeing Saudi Arabia find interest, Pakistan, and 4 other Central Asian nations. We have to also remember how much debt these countries are also in to the United States. I've noticed that since World War II, our economy has become a global economy on reliance. currency. So, for example, you brought up Europe. So the EU was basically created as a reliancy structure between France and Germany, so that they were so economically reliant on one another that a war could never happen again. So I believe that even though BRICS is creating their own currency, that BRICS is trying to get away from the hegemony of the US dollar, because they have so much debt towards the United States, that I don't foresee the US dollar, even with the amount of debt that the last three administrations have put us in as a result of the money printing, unfortunately, I don't foresee the hegemony of the US dollar completely collapsing. I do, however, see the United States in a similar fashion to how Rome was, both during the crisis of the 3rd century and also right after Julius Caesar was assassinated, where America right now is in this ideological rift. You have many different ideological perspectives trying to compete for power. You have different sentiments. You have, economic models that have created disparity. You have the debasement of the currency. These were all things that happened in the crisis of the 3rd century in Rome. And then, at the same time, there was the plague of Cyprian, which was smallpox. We just had a plague in 2020. You guys put up COVID. And the way that the Roman Empire came back, instead of how it was supposed to collapse in the 3rd century, was through military and judicial reforms. And I believe that's going to happen in the United States. And it's going to happen out of necessity and force. And I believe that Europe, if you guys look back in the 1990s, actually, Russia asked to join NATO. And NATO denied Russia. So I don't believe that I don't believe that Europe, purely based on ideology, and if you want to call it a facade of liberal democracy, I don't believe that Europe would side with this new order with China and Russia simply on the basis of ideological perspective. That ideological perspective in Europe is very much aligned with the United States. So I don't believe that there's going to be a rift between America and Europe. However, if that did happen, like Ben eloquently said, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. With that said, I think America right now has very big parallels to Rome. But I do believe, regarding Rome, I believe America has to go through a transformational period, which will probably lead to more divide, which I think has to happen. But I do believe that if America can come out of this, they will breed some unity. And one last thing before I shut up, isn't it kind of amazing that with Silvergate, Signature, Silicon Valley, BRICS creating a new currency, the hegemony of the US dollar collapsing in essence, a war in Ukraine, all of this happening, and Bitcoin still isn't collapsing, and Elizabeth Warren declaring war on crypto, even though she's a hypocrite, just like Ben Armstrong basically highlighted, and I like that, because I'm not a fan of Elizabeth Warren either. But it goes to show how resilient Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has become from these massive macro events. And it kind of speaks volumes about the maturation of this market. So that's what I wanted to say. And thank you for letting me speak. And Ben and AJ, you guys are awesome. And Cassie, thank you so much for also co-hosting this.
Yeah, thank you, man. I clearly didn't pay it that much attention in history class. You lost me for like 15 seconds there, but I do completely understand the sentiment of what you're saying. I completely see Europe siding with us, as long, like, the catch there is that as long as we are doing the right thing to get our ducks in a row, like, we're not the only ones hiking interest rates. They're doing the same thing. We have a lot of similarities, like, just with the structure of our economies and stuff. So I agree with Ben, and I agree with you. I think it really will decide. The kids, the kids as in Europe has to come with us, and I don't think that they would go to the other side. But thanks for your contribution. You have your hand up. What's going on?
Yeah, so I think I want to bring it back to what Ben was saying. He was saying that not Russia, but USSR made it to space first, but the US made it to that. But it's going to depend on how they force people to utilize this type of new currency. If you go back to 1989, Pepsi had got 17 submarines, a cruiser, and a bunch of other ships because Russia basically wanted Pepsi. Now, if they decide to say, hey, trades will have to take place in this currency, that's where we're going to see a change, in the environment overall. And it doesn't mean that it's going to win, but that it will have an effect in what we're doing. And again, maybe call me moon boy, but I love that they're doing this because it's going to push the U.S. to be more friendly, in my opinion, because you need some of these catalysts to take place for people to see what the people really want.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. When it's kind of like it's kind of inspiring us. Like when we saw Sputnik going through the sky and we were so far behind in the space war. That's like when we kind of really got it together and put our heads together and we came out on top. We landed on the moon first. I kind of feel like these events are kind of like the sort of like Sputnik. I guess that's just kind of the connection I'm making there.
Did you see that one, by the way, AJ? Did you see Sputnik flying around?
No, I was not here, but I watched that one movie with the kids and the rockets.
Right. That's Missing Crypto over there. She was the one who's been around for that long. I got you.
Right, got it. Exactly. Also, yeah, Miss Teen Crypto up here as a speaker. I recently saw, her speaking at high schools, dropping knowledge to the kids. Hey, kids, buy Bitcoin. Is that what you told them, or was it a little bit more to it than that? What did you say to the kids?
Well, hi, AJ, Ben, Cassie. Thank you for hosting. Hi, Action Samurai, Corey. Hope you guys are doing well. So, yeah, I did go back to high school. It was my second time going back. I taught 2-hour-long classes, so that was really awesome.
And what did you say to the kids?
So overall, it was just like an intro to crypto. Of course, I didn't tell them what to do. I didn't tell them buy Bitcoin, didn't tell them sell Bitcoin. I just gave them information and I always told them to do their own research. So that way they can make their own financial decisions. So it was a really good class, though. They were really engaged. They really wanted to learn about it. And it wasn't like, the questions weren't like, oh, what is this like magic internet money? It was more like, okay, how could we buy it? How could we use it? It really like made me super bullish. So, and I was giving out a few wallets. People wanted to get some wallets. I was helping set them up. I was like sending out some crypto. So it was like a really good time. I'm happy that I went back.
No, that's totally cool for you to do that for them. So wait, let me get this straight. You didn't tell them to buy like HBAR and Cardano or anything?
AJ, oh my gosh.
I'm kidding. I'll stop.
I give them the basics. I was talking about like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, because those I feel like are like the basics, get you started in the space and give you like those fundamentals, and then you go on from there.
Totally. That's so cool of you to do that. I wish someone would have came to my high school in like 2009 and told us about Bitcoin. That would have been absolutely amazing. Hey, I see Samurai AI with his hand up. What's going on, man?
Hey, I just wanted to say we're trying to do our contributions to the space too. So I know you guys are probably familiar with the Axie Infinity hack of Ronin and everything. If you look at the top, our project, the Worthless Pixels, we've talked about before, is going to be partnering with Axie Infinity and Ronin Network on trying to work on cybersecurity. So I know Miss Crypto is working real hard in this space. So I just wanted to throw up another one as well. We're all doing our part. So that's all. Just showing some love, showing some appreciation, and showing some tag team effort for the same force. We're all moving in the same direction.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, education is key. As long as we could keep educating, like I know Ben just put out his new book, so shout out to Catching Up to Crypto. I think it's a great book. Like, start off with something really cool and something that's just like modern. I feel like it's like a good approach. So any education is something that we all should push. I mean, still we have like a huge educational gap, and it's closing because now people are wondering, where do we put our money? Do we keep our money in the bank or money under our mattress, or do we make it digital and keep it safer with our private keys in a wallet? So I do think that as long as we keep going and people are naturally going to flow into Bitcoin, and you have to think about it, like Gen Z is a whole generation that's kind of being like missed out on when people are thinking about Bitcoin and crypto. People think people are already here. Like, no, Gen Z has yet to come in. And when they come in, it's going to be a completely different space. So there's so much adoption that has to be had. And like I said, once the new wave comes in, more people coming in, the next bull market, it's going to look completely different. So I would stay bullish on Bitcoin. I would stay bullish on the space. And just, like I said, keep educating, keep doing good things.
I couldn't agree more. You know, like crypto for me is really, it represents like the constant pursuit of education. Like just because we're not in high school or college anymore, like Bitcoin is like an everyday lifestyle for me. I wake up and I mean, it's like a Netflix show that you binge watch all week long, and it's in real life. Like, and it's just so fun to wake up every morning and check the news and check the charts and see like how the space is growing and to like kind of be there in real time. It's really, what a time to be alive. And shout out to all 335 of you for spending an hour of your Friday night here with us at the BitBoy Crypto Twitter space. We're going to do this twice a week. You know, shout out to Ben and Cassie for putting this on. Shout out to Stake for sponsoring us. Shout out to Miss Teen Crypto, Corey, Action, Samurai. I really appreciate you guys. The listener 6AB, that PFP, that Dead Pixel Club, looking really good. Loving that. Hey, Corey, you got your hand up. What's up, man?
What's up, AJ? So, Miss Teen Crypto, as an individual who went to school to be a teacher, I just want to say congratulations for doing that. I just saw that. It's incredible that you were able to do that. And one of my favorite quotes is by Isaac Asimov. And he said, the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who can't read and write, but those who can unlearn, learn, and relearn. And here's the issue with education and Miss Teen Crypto. You're being one of the heralds of actual 21st century learning and not Fordist 20th century learning. There's this educational pedagogy called the hidden curriculum, and it was identified in the 1980s. And it was the idea that teachers teach and curriculums are made in accordance to facilitating the socioeconomic status of that particular school. So let's say you're in a lower class school. You're going to be taught directional based learning, procedural based learning. You're not going to be taught educational paradigms that are emphasized on team collaboration, group thinking, upper management thinking, because it's meant to facilitate your basically induction into lower class economic life. Whereas in upper class schools and middle class schools, they specifically create curriculums that are based on group learning, debate, analytical thinking, critical thinking, and it's the hidden curriculum that's been around since the time of John Dewey, which was the turn of the 20th century. And I think that people like Miss Teen Crypto and like modern educators that are able to actually teach people how to think in the 21st century and not what to think, not just arbitrarily putting facts into someone's head on the basis of just teaching them the facts, but then not teaching them why those facts are true. I think that's the future of learning, and I really wish that economics were taught in that method more than the way they are now. So,
yeah. Well, I think I love filling my crypto stable, people that I associate with people that actually do stuff. It's so easy to go and sit in front of a computer and make a video, but it's much harder to actually get out and go do something. And that's one thing I really love about Miss Teen Crypto is she's young, but she's out there doing more than 99% of the space. And that's a big, a big accolade. I think she definitely deserves credit for. And that's what we like to do. You know, we like to get out there and make a difference and cause change. And I think when the people that you're looking up to, when the people that you're following, when they're just lip service and they're not actually trying to make a difference, that's how you can spot people who are just in this as a job or as a money-making endeavor. The people that are out there kicking down doors, kicking down, barriers, those are the people that you guys should be cheering for. And, definitely big shout out to Miss Teen Crypto. Always been one of my favorite people in this space.
Literally love you, Ben. 100%. And you get off your butt too. Like, come on. Like, you went down and tracked down SBF's afro. Like, that's insane. But, like, I do think, like, it's really, like, cool that you, like, actually go out, you do stuff, you do education, and you've been in this space for a long time. Like you said, like, you've seen many cycles, and we know where the future lies. So that's why we're confident. And We did our own research to get here, and now what we could do is just educate others and give them the research that they need to come to the same conclusions that we did.
And Ben, I do want to echo that as well, because there's a big reminder here. I know that sometimes people might look around and go, oh, this guy's just creating YouTube videos, but a lot of the young people right now, that's where they're getting their knowledge from, because schools are not providing that, especially lower socioeconomic status schools. And that's a big thing. Then this is coming from the guy who actually ran the largest public speaking and debate program in the country and expanded it internationally. Like I blew this thing out of the water, and then all of a sudden it's going, wait, these kids are missing the fundamentals. They don't know how to deal with money at all. So it's much, much needed. And all the videos that, Missing Crypto is putting together, your videos, everybody that's actually creating content for this platform, like, it makes a big, big difference. And I do appreciate it, because otherwise, who are they going to listen to? A 73-year-old woman that's in Senate that shouldn't be there anymore?
That's all I got to say to that. Old woman vibes. No, but in all honesty, you're absolutely right. The problem with contemporary educational pedagogy and educational environments is that they're like the U.S. government. They're like any federal government in the way that they are not up to speed to the change and paradigm shift of an individual thought. And they're stuck 60 years in the past. And they don't realize that online learning is the future of learning. And unfortunately, like you said, Action, that, for example, lower class schools, they don't have the funding nor the access to ubiquitous Google Chromebook for all of their students. So you have an unfair advantage that's just creating more wealth disparity as a result of, unfortunately, just growing up in an environment or a neighborhood that you were arbitrarily placed and born in. So you don't have that same type of autodidactness in the educational system. So what do you do instead? You have to facilitate being autodidactic outside of contemporary educational institutions, and that's exactly what you convey, is that people are learning on YouTube, on Khan Academy, on Odyssey. They are born with the internet, and that is where education is really faltering, is they do not understand that even though the internet is the best tool for education, people are starving for knowledge because of the disparities that we see in lower class and middle class and even upper class neighborhoods, that they don't have the funding or they don't have the tools, or if the teachers are archaic and antiquated surrounding their own teaching methods.
You're dead on. And I know AJ's going to probably move on to the last thing here, but I came from a background where I was born in Brazil, in a third world country. I didn't move to the States until I was 13 years old. And when I moved here, I was in a very bad neighborhood. And the reason I learned the things that I learned, the reason I got into Bitcoin in 2011 was the internet. So anything that I can do to get people to understand the power behind this thing, I'm going to do. And it's so refreshing to be around people that have, that are like-minded, that want to further this space and make sure that it is growing and going in the right direction. And even if it takes driving, to weird places and flying over to the Bahamas and knocking on doors and hanging out with security guards.
That's it. That's 100%. I think you really hit on something there. Just briefly. I mean, you know this if you've been in crypto for a while. If you've gone to meetups, if you've gone to conferences, guys, we're generally all the same. Like, that's the thing about it. Like, we infight a lot, and there's a lot of discrepancies on which projects we like and which exchange is a scam and blah, 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 blah. We all agree Sam was a scam. That was it. But the whole thing is, we're all open-minded. We're all on the cutting edge of technology. We all understand the world needs to change. And that's why we all get along so great, especially in real life. Maybe not always on Twitter, but, there's a reason why you feel comfortable in this space and why we've all gone, so far all in, because there's so many good people here trying to do good things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I actually had to look up the word autodidactic. It means self-education without the guidance of masters or institutions. And that's exactly what crypto is, like self-learning. I remember, like 4 or whatever years ago when I started getting into crypto, I didn't know. I would watch these videos and it sounded like they were speaking in another language and I had no idea what any of it meant. But luckily for me, I had a lot of time in my hands. I had a lot of determination. And when I heard a term I didn't know, I looked it up. I would listen to videos for hours. I'd read articles. And I'd go on and on and on. And I never stopped doing that. I still do that today. So basically what I'm saying is that if you're out there, if you're one of the 352 people in this space listening to this space for one little nugget of information, the nugget of information that I would give to you is to chase your dreams and live life with complete abandon. Like when you do something, do the hell out of it and don't look up until you succeed and like chase your dreams and achieve your goals. So basically, like when I first got into crypto, I told my dad and my girlfriend, guess what? I'm going full-time crypto. And they laughed at me. No joke. Ben, my dad and Jada laughed at me when I told them that I was going full-time crypto. And I said, okay. And I just put my head down and I kept learning and I kept learning and I kept learning. In this game, knowledge is king. I'll say it again. Knowledge is king. And you have to have a constant stream of information, a stream of consciousness going into your brain, and you need to sponge of it as much as you can. Because the people out there that sponge that information and remember it and then apply those concepts to their life, to their investments, to their day trades, whatever it is, those of you that do that will be successful. It's not an if, it's not a maybe, it's not a dice roll. It's a will be.
Yeah, and I think AJ, I think what you're saying right here is very beautiful. It's a very powerful message to everybody. You went all in, and now you work at BitBoy Crypto, and you've actually became my 27th best employee. And I just want to say thank you.
Dude, thanks, man. I'm in the circle of trust on the very outside layer.
No, we love AJ. He's more like 14th best. I don't know.
I'll take it. You know what? From where I was 4 years ago, dude, I'll take it.
Absolutely.
This has been a great space. Totally. 100%. So when is the other one? It's bi-weekly. We're doing one Friday and one...
Well, technically, they're supposed to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's when we're going to shoot to do them. But obviously, I'm traveling right now, and yesterday was not going to be a good time to do one. We had another meeting and stuff. So we're going to aim for Tuesday and Thursday, but it may be a little different. Just like I aim to start my show every day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys know we never do. So we're going to promise you, though, we're going to be doing 2 spaces per week. Always going to be sponsored by Steak, our primary channel sponsor. Thank you to Steak as well. Thank you to Cassie. Thank you to AJ for co-hosting. Thank you to all of our speakers, Mystique Crypto, Corey, Samurai Action CEO. You guys, thanks for coming up. Love to get some more people up on the stage next time. But for today, that's all we got. Be blessed. Good boy out.
Stay zesty, fam.
Have a good night, you guys.
Have a great one, guys. Thank you so much. Ben, keep doing what you're doing.